Okay, good day everyone. Here are solutions to the assignments I gave to you to serve as a guide for you. You can use that to evaluate yourself and see whether what you did so far is correct or not, or you can use it as a guide if you don't even know how to go about the assignment. All right, the first task spoke about creating a Python program that collects your name, age, height, and then print it out. I give you a format of what it should print out. For instance, it should say my name is, then it should mention your name, I am, it should mention your age, then you say years old, and my height is, it will mention your height, then meters. So here is a practical solution to the assignment. So I said you should write your name should be a string. So you can see here my name, this is a string. I said your age should be an integer. This is the age. And then your height should be a float. This is the float. And then ensure that your print statement, you print out the statement in this format here. So you can see this is my print. My name is, this my name is first of all Kim, or is first of all outputted. But if you check, I put it in quotation mark, just like I told you that day. I told you any string that is not a variable should be in a quotation mark, but anyone that is a variable must not be in a quotation mark. So that was why I first of all write my name is. This name is a variable. So how do you join a variable to this previous string? You separate it with comma. That's why I see comma, and then I put this variable name because it's a variable. Then comma. The next part of the statement say I am. If you check, I put I am in quotation mark, and then comma before I went to the next variable, which is age. You can see age, then comma, years old, and my before height. Height is another variable, but years old and my is not. So you can see I put it here years old, and my height is, I put I put it I put it next, and my height is then followed by this height. This height is also another variable before meters. So you can see I separated with comma, and then lastly I put meters. So once you run this statement, this whole print statement, it will give you this exact output that I want you to display here. And then I also showed you another method which that day I didn't teach you, but I just introduced it in case of next time if you want to write your print and you don't want to be using comma, 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 comma to separate them. All you do is you write everything in one line. But your variables, always put them in curly braces. That's that type of bracket that we're using for a dictionary. You put your variables inside. My name is, your variable is name, put it in a curly brace. I am, the variable is age, put it in a curly brace. Years old, and my height is, your height is a variable, put it in a curly brace, and then meters. And then in front of here, put F. This F stands for format. So the moment you do something like this, it will print out exactly the same thing. You can see when I ran the program, it brought out the same thing as the previous one. So that is the solution to tax 1. Now tax 2 says perform the following operations. Calculate the sum, difference, product and division of two numbers 12 and 4. Store this result in different variables for each and print them. So I ask you to calculate the product of two numbers 12 and 4. So I call them num1 and num2. So num1, I pass it to be 12. Remember I told you solutions can be different. Depends on your understanding. However, it's almost the same pattern. which you will use in solving them. So you can call 4 num 1, 12 num 2, anyhow you see it fit. But I called 12 num 1 and 4 as my num 2. And then I said create 4 variables that check their sum, difference, product, and division. So that's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So you can see for the sum, for the one that will add them, I call it sum. I told it add num 1 and num 2. The one that will find their difference, I call it difference. Subtract num 1 and num 2. The one that will multiply them, I call it product. Num 1 and num 2. As num 1 times num 2. And then the one that will divide them, I call it division. Num 1 divided by num 2. So if you can check, all of them has a different operational symbol. And then I printed the sum, the difference, the product, and the division. So that is that for question or for tax 1 and 2. Okay, next is the tax 3, which I gave you an exercise on how to use your control structure. So I said you are trying to create a software to monitor blood pressure, and I gave you some ranges. Those are the conditions for the blood pressure. I say if the blood pressure is 90 and below, it should indicate very low BP. Between 100 to 114, low BP. 1115 to 1125, normal BP. 126 to 150, high BP. And then 151 and above, it should indicate very high BP. So how do you do that? First of all, you need to create a variable that will be holding the BP, the value of the BP, which I call BP taker. And then these my conditions that I give here, I transform them into if statements, into a control statement. The first condition given was 90 and below. 90 and below means from 90 downwards. So it means if our BP taker is between 0 to 90, it should indicate very low BP. So if you check, I said if BP taker is less than or equal to 90, because numbers between 0 to 90 we represent them as less than or equal to 90. So that's the first condition. You can see I wrote it here. And then I said if that condition is met, it should print very low BP. Then the second condition, we are told the number should be between 100 to 114. That one we should call it low BP. Remember that day I told you, if you are doing something like this, you write first condition for the first number. This dash, you represent it with and then second condition, you also write its own separate. So I said the first one mostly carry greater than or equal to, while the second one carries less than or equal to. So if you can check, I put elif BP taker, and then I put my greater than equal to, then 100. Then this dash are represented with and then BP taker again, then less than or equal to 114. The same thing applies to the next one, the next condition. Okay, for this 100 to 114, the condition is we should write low BP. So that's why I say print low BP. Then the next one, 115 to 125 should be normal BP. You can see it's the same thing. I put greater, my elif BP taker is greater than or equal to, I started with the first one, 115, dash is represented with and, then BP taker again, then one less than or equal to, then my 125, and then I print my normal BP. The same thing went for the next condition. And then the last condition, I told you if the last condition, you always don't need to write it. All you need to do is just to write your else. So the moment you write the else, the program auto knows that the last condition or the any other condition that has not been outlined by if or the other elif are to be met by it. So it auto knows that condition and then passes it to itself. So you can see when I gave an instance 134, I said my BP should be 134 and then it printed high BP. Why? Because if you check 134 is within this range. So this condition has been met. So that is that for exercise 3. Now exercise 4 focuses on how to use your control structure and then loop through. So I said you are working for a company as a backend. You are asked to create a software that collects customers' phone number, nationality, email, and full name. So I asked you to collect four things: phone number of a person, nationality, email, and his full name. The first question I said, write a Python program that collects these details and then add them to a list. Since you have to add, we didn't say something was already in the list. It implies that you are to create an empty list and then you start adding these details to the list. And how do you add? You add details to a list using what? The append keyword. So how will I solve that? You see, I first of all create a variable called details holder, which should be an empty list. Why? Because I've not started adding items and they didn't tell us something is within the list. And then those my four details, I gave some variables that I will later pass to the list. We asked to collect phone number, nationality, email, and full name. So these are my phone number, my nationality, my email, and my full name. And then I started adding them to this details folder. How do we add? We add using the append keyword. You can see I said details folder dot append phone number, details folder dot append nationality, details folder dot append email, and then details folder dot append full name. And then lastly, I printed out that details folder. That's my list. You can see at the beginning it was empty. Now it's no longer empty because I've added items to it, and you can see it outputted items. And the second part say write a program that can loop through the entire list after a user has entered these details and output what the user entered. So we are to loop through this details folder. How do we usually do that? We do that, I say we use for loop. So you just say for X in, then details folder, and then print X. So you can see it printed out all the items that are in the list. Remember, I told you this X will represent each of the items that are inside the list. So that was what happened here. And then the second part of the question say next, use a dictionary to solve this problem. So we use the list to solve it. Now we have to use a dictionary. Same way, we need to create an empty dictionary. Then these values are already there, then we have to add those items to a dictionary. Remember, the way you add items to a dictionary, you don't use append, you use a different way. So look at, I first of all created my empty dictionary. Those default values that I used up, examples of values, I brought them down again. Then I started adding them to my dictionary. And we said for a dictionary, in order for you to add something, you call it the name of the dictionary, you pass the key before the variable that will be outputted as the value. Unlike in a list where you put dot append. No, this one it doesn't have dot append. Remember, I will say dictionary has a key and a value. So you first of all write the name of the dictionary, the key that variable is trying to represent, and then you pass the variable which will be outputted as the value. So you can see I started with the first one. The key I gave it is phone number, and then I pass the phone number variable. To add the next one, details holder nationality, I pass this nationality value. Next one, details holder email, I pass the email value. And then lastly, details holder full name, I pass the full name variable. And then I printed the details holder. You can see it brought out each of them, the key and the value. You can see phone number is the key, this is my phone number. Nationality is the key, this is my nationality. Email is the key, this is my email, which serves as the value. And then full name, this is my full name, which serves as the value. Then secondly, we are to loop through. So to loop through, if you recall, I told you, unlike a list, a dictionary, if you are trying to loop through, it usually outputs two things: the key and the value. And I said the combination of a key and values, we call them items in a dictionary. And I said whenever you want to loop through a dictionary, if you write the name of the dictionary, you must add this dot items, else it will not work. It will try to see the key and the value as a single thing and it will raise an error for you. So you need to separate them. X, that's the first thing you mention, always stands for key. And then the second thing you mention always stands for value. Why? Because key always comes before the value. So that is I say for X, comma Y in details folder, which is the name of our dictionary, dot items, to justify it so that it should be separatable. So X is my key, Y is my value. So I say print X followed by equal to, then Y. That is the reason why I put equal to, so that I should separate them. I should say phone number equal to, then you should output the phone number. Name equal to, you should output the name. So that was why I did it like that. And then I ran it. You can see it outputted it in that format. So that is that for tax 4. Then it is the same thing we did in tax 4 that we did in tax 5, just that in tax 5 I said create a function rather, and then I just changed the values you have to add to the dictionary. I said create a function that collects 4 records from users: name, account number, bank name, and payment, and then store them in a variable called salary payment record. I gave you the name of the variable you have to store. So that's say the dictionary, sorry, that you have to store those values to. So the dictionary, the empty dictionary you have to create, the name should be salary payment record. So please take note of that. So that was what I did here. So I called my function. I gave you, remember to define a function, you always start with the def keyword. I told you if you didn't put that def, it's not a function, it's something else you are doing. So I need to first of all write my def to make it be a function. And then I pass the name of my function, salary payment. Now they said the function should collect 4 records. So it should have 4 parameters. And those parameters are name, account number, bank name, and payment. But because I don't want, there's a space between account and number. I told you there are 2 ways of solving it. How do you solve it? The first way is by removing the space between them. By removing the space between them, in the sense that you can write your account number something like this. You can write it like this, or you can just simply cut it short and just use account to represent it. So if you check, that was what I did. Instead of me to write account number, bank name in full name, I just cut them short. So the first variable was name, so I wrote it. The second variable was account number. The third variable was bank, and then the last variable was the payment. So since we are told to create a dictionary called salary payment record, it means all these items are to be added to this dictionary. Take note of that. So in order for us to do that, first of all, there was no item in the dictionary. So you can see I created an empty dictionary called that salary payment record. And then I want to start adding my items. Remember, to add items to a dictionary, all you need to do is pass the name of the dictionary, the name of the key, followed by equal to, and then the variable or the value that you want to store within that dictionary. So you can see I started with the first one, salary payment record, my name. I said name, that's the key that I want should appear there. And then I pass this variable name. I'm done with that. I went to the next one, salary payment record, account number. Then I pass the name of the variable account. Mind you, some of you may ask, okay, I said there shouldn't be space in these ones. Why am I using space here? Now, if it is a key doesn't matter. A key can have a space, but a variable is the one that shouldn't have a space. So don't make that mistake of giving your variable a space. No, but a key can have a space. So even this one, if I like, I can write full name and then give space. It's just a key that I want. It should guide someone that this thing that I passed here, this is what it stands for. You get? So it mustn't have it mustn't be done without a space between them. So you can use a space. So that was what I mean. Instead of just account, I put account number in this second key. However, in the value, I passed just this account which I've defined here. And the next one, salary payment record, bank. And then I passed this bank variable. So if I like, I can say bank name in this key. And then lastly, final salary payment record, payment, and then I passed this payment. Then I asked my function that whenever we are done, you have to print that dictionary salary payment record so that users can see. Then to test it, I called the name of my function salary payment, and then I passed it 4 variables: name, account, bank, payment. Mind you, if the variables are not 4, it will be a problem. So you must pass 4 variables to it because here they are 4. So to do that, to illustrate that, you can see I tested the function which I created here. I called the name of the function salary payment. This is it. And then I passed those 4 parameters or variables to show an illustration. And another thing, take note, the arrangement must be the way you arranged it in the bracket. Don't change it. Don't say name and go and start with account number. It will pass that account number as a name. It may cause a problem for you. So the first parameter is a name. So I need to pass it a name variable, comma. Second one is is an account number. I need to pass it an account number variable. The next one is a bank name. I need to pass it the name of a bank variable. And then the last one is a payment. I passed the payment. So the moment I ran the function, you can see instead of it to output something, it outputted a dictionary for me. Why? Because within the function, we defined that whatever is being passed, it should add it to a dictionary and then print that dictionary. So you can see it's printed out a dictionary having these full details that we outlined within it. So these are the solutions to the assignment. The reason why I did the solution and pass across to is because once we start our class much later by 8 p.m., I won't talk about this assignment. So if you watch it through and maybe have any question, any clarification, you can drop it in the group. Because I don't want us to waste much time today. I want us to go straight to the point, finish up in good time so that everyone can have time to rest. So that is that for the solution. See you in class much later within the day. Have a nice day. Bye.